Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I am so grateful that you're here. Welcome to the Daily Medicine Transmission for March 30th, 2022. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome if you're new to this channel. Thank you for being here. Special shout out to my subscribers on Subscribestar, the Starseed Fellowship. Thank you for investing not only in this work, but in your own journey as well, because it's really all hands on deck. And I know many of us has said this for a number of, years at this point, but it really does feel like it's time. And not even all hands on deck, but hearts, right? All hearts on deck. And this is what we're going to talk about for today's transmission, which is really entitled How to Keep Your Heart Open in Hell. So this is inspired directly from a video that's linked in the description box of the same title, right? From the channel, the After School channel on YouTube. And it's just a 17-minute clip of Ram Dass talking about, how to keep your heart open in hell. And this is really the work right now, like in this now moment that seems so important and pertinent. So we're going to talk about today's astrology, of course, and check in. Our moon is in Pisces today. It's going to be finishing her transit of Pisces today. That means she's meeting Jupiter. That means she is meeting Neptune. That means she is having that relationship to her own nodal axis in Taurus and Scorpio that Neptune has been very strongly having as well within just this last week. And so the moon, it makes it that much more of a personal ripple effect and sensitivity. And of course, in Pisces, we got all of the feels open. And this is exactly the right time. And the transit with Venus today is going to be a big part of this too. She is also going to square the moon's nodes at galactic degrees, very similar to where we had the full moon in February and that grand square. Still same basic starseed activations of Orion and the Pleiades in particular. It's moved out of alignment with that 26 to 27 degrees area, but it's still relevant to it. So we'll go into that today because that is exactly where we're going to find our ability to remain not cold and logical and objective in a way that is detached from the emotions, because we're talking about Venus, but as a sensitivity to what is needed in order to maintain the best possible energetic cohesion for all of us. And Venus is our sensitivity in our senses, and that can be our five senses and beyond, a much more intuitive sense. And with the moon in Pisces, it's very seamless to tap into the love and the compassion and a sense of unity from our feels right now. And we're in a prime moment where if we can really align ourselves with what the earth is doing, as I'm going to show you, because just this morning, even between the last time I looked at the Shum until now, it has amplified significantly. And that's the heart of the planet also opening and getting more full and emitting a much larger field around her. And if we can really just tap into this today, and certainly in the future, and we have before, but there is a massive heart opening, and the earth is opening her heart, and we can follow suit, because there is a version of hell that is coming. And I think that over the weekend, we got a pretty strong sensitivity, again, with Venus to what that may feel like, and the brutal truth that Saturn often represents as the fabric of space-time and the limitation of material existence when it comes to its own process and cycle. So it was very difficult. Many people had a lot of very emotional and very visceral releases through sobbing and through other types of embodied experiences, right? Sobbing is a really powerful one, but it could have come through in a number of different physical manifestations as well. People really having a lot of pain in their body. So there is an intense amount of solar weather. It's not super scary, but it's going to have an impact. And I think that this is, again, just another layer of input right now that can really have an impact on how this next lunar cycle and really how this whole next season is going to unfold. And I feel like there is so much potential right now, and just even reminding ourselves that the cosmos is in alignment in a lot of ways to what's happening, and just understanding that multiple intentions and multiple factions with multiple intentions also utilize this same cosmic time clock is also helpful in understanding where each of us want to be and what our role is. And right now it feels like all hearts on deck, and that's very difficult when we're facing the inevitable precipice of disaster that feels like that tower moment of Uranus. So we're going to get into the astrology. I just want to show astronomy. This is actually from spaceweather.com. It's one of their, it's just in their space weather gallery. It's linked in the description box below. Iridescent clouds. I just liked the color of it, and it's like a softer hue. This is a very Piscean thing to me, at least. And the sun shining through, and we're about to get all this really just very vibrant solar weather. Just a lot of plasma coming our way, and the Earth absolutely has activated her own heart center and has sent a much stronger amplification out just this morning. So some of you may have been sleeping better. I know just even in the last 2 days, it's been a little bit better. Of course, the Pisces moon makes that a little bit easier. It also has much dreamier, deeper kind of maybe even strange realms in the dreams. I just tend to go very deeply and don't have as much recall at this point. But sometimes, especially the moon's going to be meeting Neptune today in Pisces as well. It's going to be just a very strong karmic opening to what we are here to really do as starseeds. And these are all starseed activations. So the first thing I want to share with you, though, is make sure that I have it pulled up, is we're going to look at the Schumann just real quick as I take this away. So here we have, this is 11 a.m. Universal Time, so we're looking about 7 a.m. Eastern Standard on the United States, and you can see that it had been, this is the 29th, this is the 30th, in terms of the Schumann amplification. It kind of went really mellow. There were a ton of solar flares, as we talked about yesterday, and there are all those, there's 2 CMEs, another CME, a coronal hole stream. There may be more flares. It's hard to say right this moment, but they are on their way, and they're slated to impact roughly, tonight into tomorrow morning. And Friday, very early in the morning, is our new moon conjunct Chiron. So talk about keeping your heart open in hell. This new moon in Aries conjunct Chiron and Mercury. I mean, this is, it is going to be hellish for some people. So we see this amplification right up to 46 this morning, all in conjunction with each other. Very organized amplification on all of these wavelength levels here. And if we scroll down, we see that, certainly the quality has been varied as well. And that's because there was a lot more geomagnetic disturbance in the days prior, and it started to calm. And even there's been, of course, variability in the pitch or the frequency. But as usual, when there's a loud amplification, there is a pretty consistent drop in the frequency of the Schumann resonance, or in the pitch of the electromagnetic field itself, in order to amplify. So I feel like that the heart of the planet is opening right now too. And what better starseed lineage to connect to right now than the Pleiadian nature in particular. So, and of course the Sirian nature too, because we had a Sirian-oriented new moon in Pisces. The moon has already crossed that point. It actually was in a sextile to Uranus, the planet of the shakeup, yesterday. So it's really here to provide a means to centralize our focus and our spiritual will, and to be the instrument for the divine source or God to work through the divine plan. And the video that I posted, the Ram Dass clip, that is it. Everything is perfect as it is. And I know that is a hard and difficult and bitter pill to swallow, which is a lot of what Saturn represents, and Venus in that conjunction with Saturn. There are many difficult and bitter pills to swallow as we go through this process. But we also have a whole, in our entire being, we feel it down to the essence of who we are outside of even this material form, what we're here to do. And it allows us to keep our heart open. And so the planet as well, this is what she's doing. We're in this relationship. It feels very euphoric right now in a way that's kind of disarming, when just 2 or 3 days ago it was like fear and grief and sadness and a sense of powerlessness in some ways. So it's very interesting. But the sun, I think, is really assisting as part of this process. So even if you scroll down here and we look at the KP, the KP index, right? You can see that it had been a pretty steady geomagnetic field, and then it started to get even less loud, and now you can start to see that it's building again. And of course, with the amplification, this is part of the process. It's like a preparation. It's putting the call out in some ways. So let's look at the astrology for today and just get right into this transmission. So I really hope people are doing well. I'm still accepting bookings for the seasonal forecast there, and there's going to be a report after we get past this new moon period, right? The forecast for your sign is available to the Starseed Fellowship very soon. I'm in the process of recording those forecasts right now. So this seasonal forecast, it says June solstice, but I should really change it. We're going to look out to July and August in this forecast. So for 60-minute recording, it's only $66. 90-minute recording, it's only $99. And it is jam-packed information, just like these transmissions usually are. And it's I do my best to be as concise as I can, but there is so much information and abstraction that I am communicating and unraveling in order to allow you to weave it back together into a pattern that you really enjoy and you resonate with. And just, to give you the baseline of the astrology is a big part of that. So this is a lot of time that goes into preparing for these readings, which is pretty much covered by the sale itself, and only charging for the recording itself. So if you want to know how things are going to go for you and what areas of life that the next 3, 4, 5 months holds, this is it. And I'm taking bookings up until Friday. So by the end of Friday, I'll close out this sale. So here we go. There's a couple things that are very strong about today. Number one, as I said, the moon is in Pisces. It's going to meet Jupiter. It's going to meet Neptune. So it's going to get even more so expansive, even more so powerful, but also foggy. Also a sense of maybe expanding beyond our means in some ways. If you are aligned with a symbolic representation that Jupiter is of some sort of false doctrine, false ideal, or just in the land of confusion here, you may, when you meeting this point, with the moon, it could be just reinforcing it more. But especially if you really are trusting your role within this grand design right now at the most divine and sacred level, and the moon comes to meet Jupiter, this is a beautiful, beautiful expansion of our own feels and a sense of optimism and even good fortune, and something to be said for trusting our very tactile and almost naive kind of like, okay, I see that there is good here. And that's been difficult. But Jupiter is, if anything, is optimistic in terms of what it represents within us. Always looking up, the big picture and larger than life. The moon then crosses and meets Neptune today as well. And so then it's just, we become the ocean, right? We become submerged, and beyond that, we become the ocean. We become the experience of unity consciousness. We become the imagination and the magic and the inspiration. We have full interface emotionally with this dharma at a collective level that we are all here to do, and to focus on that and let go of the stuff that we know is part of the cycle that is ending. This is part of realizing your dharma, is accepting what you're here at a soul level and a transcendent level to do. And this is all of us, right? Neptune. So the fog of war is thick. It's expansive with Neptune in Pisces, and it is like an ocean surrounding what seems like our little desert island, but that island is providing everything that we actually need, and we are living in close proximity to each other, and have to accept that situation as it is, and put all of ourselves into developing this new creative potential, which is what happens when the moon comes into Aries, and ultimately when Neptune comes into Aries in a couple of years. This is a massive spiritual rebirth and revival for all of us. So this is the Piscean energy of today. And so the moon will meet Neptune, and then will come into that relationship with her own nodal axis. And so then we have a very personal connection as well to our own soul's journey right now. And Neptune has still been in relationship with these positions. They're still all in the same whole degree when they became exact. And so it just becomes that much more sensitive. We become that much more personally identified and adapting to all of these representative experiences that are symbolized by astrology and by our reading of the patterns of all the other parts of our solar system, basically, right? And then when you get into the starseed element, you're leaving the solar system and making connections to fixed stars and the starseed and archetypal reference to that. So it'll become that much more sensitive to us, and we will become more sensitive to these very large karmic, massive, transcendental, once in how many lifetimes opportunity here to really come into a whole new spiritual creation and revival, like I said. But this is about the karma and our soul's journey, which is taking us where? Towards the Pleiades, right? And that's not literal of going back to the Pleiades. Some people may want to go back, and I'm sure many of us are like, I'm ready to go home now. But it's that particular starseed connection that is so integral and so important to our souls, all of us collectively learning from our alignment with this part of who we are, which is a big one, right? This is a big part, either literally and genetically, or spiritually and archetypally. It is our connection to the Pleiades that stems all the way back to the beginning of the history that we are at least currently familiar with. There has been a direct connection to the Pleiades as a star cluster, and our connection spiritually and even galactically with them. So what is this? This is the open heart. This is the open heart chakra. And in particular, this is a command, not just being open, but being in command of one's energy and our relationship to the natural world, and being in harmony, but also total authority over ourselves from a sensory perspective, from a, yeah, I would say even just our relationship to the natural world and how we relate to it and harmonize it. But it's very authoritarian in terms of our own energy, not so much controlling anybody else, but being in total command of ourselves and our survival in some ways. But even more than that, just being fully held and strengthened and like I said, just command of who we are. So this is where the North Node is. So, and this is the heart opening, right? This is the Pleiadian nature, is to have an open and strong heart chakra, and that's what the Earth is doing right now. It just had a blast, right? The Schumann represents the amplification of the magnetic field when the heart of the planet starts to, I don't know, beat faster or stronger, or get excited, or experience some sort of joy, or just responding to the incoming solar weather. I mean, it could be really as simple as that. And just like us, as we are awaiting this incoming experience of high energy information and high energy plasma, right? We're all waiting for it. So this is our moment. Now, this is where we learn, and this is where we get the tools necessary. It's through a conflict. Now, Venus, as we see here, Venus in Aquarius is now square to the nodal axis. So we have the moon and Neptune in a harmonious connection, right? So all of these feels and all of the imagination and the fluidity of Pisces, and of course even Scorpio and Taurus, are all experiential, right? All of it's in the feels, in the body, in the experience, and is what makes keeping the heart open so unbearable, right? Because we feel it all, even if it's not ours. So it's this square with Venus in Aquarius to the nodal axis that's exactly the type of conflict and challenge we need in order to remind ourselves how we actually can do this. And this is where the Orion nature comes in as such a huge asset. And with Venus, who normally rules Taurus, where the North Node is, and even Libra, which doesn't have much going on at the moment, but that's opposite all of the Aries energy. She is this balancing force in Aquarius in a way where she is still sensitive to the natural and connected experience of us in society, but is also able to maintain a sense of, able to see it outside of the experience, right? There's a sense of friendliness and a sense of compassion, and really empathizing with society or humanity in general. But there is the ability, in typical Aquarius fashion, I feel like, to be able to know the difference between what is ours and what is others. And that's through Venus being connected to her own body, the embodiment of these energetic shifting and changing. And that has to do with people's consciousness having an impact on the collective consciousness. So this is where the Orion nature. So this degree of Aquarius, so Venus is at 23 to 24 degrees in a square to the nodes. We know that these are Pleiadian oriented nodal axis, right, in terms of the degrees they're in. Well, so is this degree of Aquarius. It's not only in square to the Pleiades, providing a challenge and conflict, just like you see here, just in the T-square to the nodes, but it's also in a very resonant position to the stars in Orion. And we're looking at a trine directly to the stars in Orion at 24 degrees Gemini, so 24 degrees Aquarius. This is how we actually, we feel into it, right? We keep our hearts open and we realize that it's unbearable as we stay only in our humanity, right? And that's something that Venus is very capable of doing. That's kind of what she represents as a symbol. But in Aquarius, there is also the ability to take ourselves out of the humanity and see it from the larger collective experience. And the Orion nature is actually exactly perfect for this, because there is, yes, the potential to have cold and rational logic and not keep people's feelings in mind when explaining things, but Venus is actually the sensitivity to our relationships and the dynamics in our relationships. That is exactly what we need to not be like cold and cut off, but also very but still very rational, still very objective, still very tuned in to what is actually happening around us without getting overcome by the other people's personal emotional responses to it. So how do we overcome our passions to teach from a deep place of deep wisdom. This will be the lesson of this square, because it does provide a challenge of where we're going at a soul level, because it is all open heart chakra, and Venus rules that territory. But in Aquarius, she does represent the need to have, in order to be sensitive to the needs of the whole and the needs of the many, or the needs of humanity as a whole. There has to be a sense of really masterful, intellectual well, I say processing of what's happening. So this degree is going to feel in square naturally to the Pleiadian nature. So this is where the Orion nature can really assist us right now. And this is constructive use of difficult past experiences. And what better way than Venus in terms of embodying it, so that we can really understand our past experiences and how they will likely, be experienced by other people, and be put to use as examples. So if we have managed any kind of difficult performance, it's kind of our responsibility in some ways to contribute what we have learned to the collective of wisdom of the community or society, especially with Venus in Aquarius. So every achievement has to be passed on. And if we've had difficult experiences, if we know of, and we can be just holding space for other people, this is how you keep your heart open in hell. So I would say that you don't want to get too detached emotionally, but realize the benefit of having experienced things and being able to see how other people may be experiencing them now, and just have some compassion and that open heart. I can't stress enough how wonderful that Ram Dass video is in terms of today's astrology, and how it really just kind of ties it all together. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much, my friends. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Like I said, everything you need is in the description box below in terms of website, if you want to book a reading, if you want to follow us on Telegram, if you want to be part of the Starseed Fellowship, it's all there in the description box below. So in the meantime, I will see you tomorrow for our daily medicine, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. I love you. Peace out. Bye.